As of today, there are a total of 411 members of the Hockey Hall of Fame in Toronto, including players, coaches, off-ice personalities that helped grow the game, and every year that number is going to continue to rise as there are about 6 people inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame on average per year. And there are dozens of current NHL players that will one day be inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame. You have the guaranteed guys like Sidney Crosby, Alexander Ovechkin, and even guys like Henrik Lundqvist and Joe Thornton. The other day I was watching the Minnesota Wild versus Red Wings game, and before the game, Eric Staal was presented with the Golden Stick for hitting 1,000 career points. Congratulations to him on that. And the question was brought up, is Eric Staal a Hall of Famer? And the popular answer that I saw is he's a borderline Hall of Famer, and I definitely think that is a good answer. So it kind of got me thinking, what other current NHL players are kind of in the same boat as Eric Staal? So in today's video, we are going to talk about 8 current NHL players who are borderline Hall of Famers. And of course, if you guys are a hockey fan, make sure to click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so that you never miss a video. We might as well start off the video with the reason that I'm actually making the video, and that is Eric Staal, current member of the Minnesota Wild, who has obviously had an amazing NHL career and, like I previously mentioned, just recently hit 1,000 career points. Staal was originally the 2nd overall pick in the 2003 draft, one of the greatest draft classes of all time, by the Carolina Hurricanes. And in 1,124 career games, Staal has 1,012 total points. Some of Staal's biggest accomplishments include the 2010 Olympic gold medal, where Sidney Crosby scored the overtime winner, a 2005-6 Stanley Cup with Carolina, and a 2007 World Championship with Team Canada. And one thing that you do have to remember when talking about players who could potentially be inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame is it is the Hockey Hall of Fame. It's not just the National Hockey League Hall of Fame. So stuff that you do on the international stage can definitely help your case as well. The one thing that definitely could put a damper on Eric Staal's Hall of Fame resume is the fact that of his 17-year career, he has only made the Stanley Cup playoffs 5 times, once with the New York Rangers, twice with the Minnesota Wild, and twice with the Carolina Hurricanes. But when Eric Staal is in the playoffs, he usually comes up pretty big, as in 58 total playoff games, he's got 20 goals and 26 assists for 46 points, including a great playoff run when Carolina won the Cup, where he had 28 points in 25 games. And obviously it isn't really Eric Staal's fault that he hasn't had too much team success over the course of his career, because hockey is a team sport. It's not like he can just carry an entire team to the playoffs. But success is definitely something you have to look at when considering a player for the Hockey Hall of Fame. But with all that being said, if you were to ask me, I definitely think I would be leaning more towards him making the Hall of Fame than not. Next up, I want to talk about current member of the Montreal Canadiens, Ilya Kovalchuk, and I don't even think he'd be considered borderline had he not went and played in the KHL from the 2013-14 season all the way up until the 2017-18 season. But even his time in the KHL can go on his Hall of Fame resume because it is the Hockey Hall of Fame. Kovalchuk was the 1st overall pick in 2001 by the Atlanta Thrashers and has 867 total points in 905 NHL games. Some of his accomplishments include a Rocket Richard Trophy in 2003-2004, a 2-time world champion with Russia, and a 2018 Olympic gold medal with Russia. Overall, Kovalchuk has had an amazing professional hockey career, not just in the NHL, but whenever he got the opportunity to represent Russia at an international stage, he did that and usually played very well. And obviously he was a beast in the KHL basically every season that he was there. And lately, Kovalchuk has been playing very well for the Montreal Canadiens and could continue to add to his resume, especially if he's traded to like a Stanley Cup contender and gets an opportunity to win the first Stanley Cup of his career. Moving along now, we have Corey Perry, current member of the Dallas Stars, and Corey Perry has had a pretty solid NHL career, a controversial player, but in his prime, he was a beast with the Ducks. He was a 1st round pick, 28th overall in that stacked 2003 draft class by the Anaheim Ducks, and has a total of 789 career points in 1,024 games. And Corey Perry definitely has no shortage of accomplishments. He was a 2016 world champion with Team Canada. He won the Hart Trophy and the Rocket Richard in the 2010-11 season. He was a member of the 2007 Stanley Cup winning Anaheim Ducks and is a 2-time Olympic gold medalist. Corey Perry is a winner and has had a ton of success throughout his career, not just in the NHL, but obviously on the international stage with Team Canada as well. Corey Perry obviously isn't the player that he once was, and I'm not sure how much he has left in the tank in terms of an NHL career, but even if his career came to an end next year, with all the success that he's had, not just in the NHL, but internationally as well, I think he would get some consideration for the Hockey Hall of Fame. Moving along now, we have Brent Seabrook of the Chicago Blackhawks, and he's one that I'm probably leaning a little bit more towards him not making the Hall of Fame than him actually making it, but I still thought I'd throw him in this video because he has had a really good career. Seabrook was the Hawks' 14th overall pick in the 2003 NHL draft, one that has came up a lot in this video, and has 464 points in 1,114 career games. Some of Seabrook's accomplishments include winning the Stanley Cup with the Hawks on 3 different occasions and winning the Olympic gold medal with Team Canada in Vancouver in 2010. Brent Seabrook never won a Norris Trophy. He was never a defenseman who was gonna put up like 60 points on a season, but he was always just a very steady, solid two-way defender for the Blackhawks and was a really big part of their dynasty, and that definitely helps his case. Now, Duncan Keith, on the other hand, is widely regarded as a lock for the Hall of Fame, and rightfully so, but I feel like if people look at Duncan Keith that way, then we should at least give Brent Seabrook a little bit of consideration for the Hall of Fame. But even though he has had a really good NHL career, I think of all the players that I'm going to talk about in this video, Seabrook has the smallest chance of actually getting into the Hall of Fame. Moving on now, we have another player that was spoiled by the thumbnail, and that is Mr. Game 7 Justin Williams. Never a player who was a superstar in the regular season, but when the playoffs rolled around, he was definitely someone that you wanted on your team. Williams was the 28th overall pick by the Philadelphia Flyers in the 2000 NHL draft and has a total of 788 points in 1,246 career NHL games. Some of his accomplishments include winning the Stanley Cup on 3 different occasions, once with the Hurricanes and twice with the LA Kings, and he actually won the Conn Smythe as playoffs MVP in 2014 for LA. A playoff run that saw Justin Williams put up 25 points in 26 games for the Los Angeles Kings, and looking at his regular season numbers, they don't scream Hall of Fame, only 788 points in over 1,200 games, but like I mentioned, that's not where he did his damage. He did his damage when the playoffs rolled around. Justin Williams has played a total of 155 career games in the playoffs and has 40 goals and 61 assists for 101 total points. And since returning to the NHL this season with the Canes, he's got 2 goals in 2 games, and Carolina's a pretty good team, and I definitely think they will make the playoffs, and if they do, he's gonna get an opportunity to just add to his amazing playoff resume. He is definitely a borderline Hall of Famer, but man, do I ever hope he gets in one day. Next up, I want to talk about Jason Spezza, current member of the Toronto Maple Leafs, who has had a very good NHL career, and I think when it comes to an end, he will get some consideration to be inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame. Spezza was the 2nd overall pick in 2001 by the Ottawa Senators and has 933 career points in 1,102 games. Some of his accomplishments on the international stage include winning the 2015 World Championship with Canada and also winning the 2012 Spengler Cup. And if I had to guess, I think Jason Spezza probably will crack the 1,000 point mark. He's got 18 points in 37 games this year, and if he continues to score at that pace, it should put him a good amount closer, and then maybe it'll only take 1 or 2 more years. And Spezza seems like the type of guy who would really want to hit that milestone. I don't really see him hanging up the skates unless he has to right before he hits it. And Jason Spezza is definitely a playoff performer as well. Even though he hasn't won a Stanley Cup, he has played in 80 playoff games and has 25 goals and 45 assists for 70 total points. And I definitely think he can step up and maybe play a little bit of a bigger role and definitely help some of the younger guys for Toronto this year if they do make it into the playoffs. Next up, I want to talk about Patrick Marleau. He definitely has a really good shot of being a Hall of Famer when his career comes to an end, but I feel like people don't really look at him as a lock for the Hall of Fame. He has played a ton of games. He's always been a very durable player. He's played 1,703 games and has 1,183 total points. Some of his accomplishments include winning the Olympic gold medal on 2 different occasions and winning the 2003 World Championship with Team Canada. Marleau was never really a player who was gonna put up like 100 points in a season, but he was always just very consistent and very good for the San Jose Sharks. It's just the one thing that has always eluded him is the same thing that has eluded his longtime teammate Joe Thornton, and that is the Stanley Cup. And I think if Patrick Marleau were ever to win a Stanley Cup, that would guarantee it that he would one day be inducted into the Hall of Fame, but even if he doesn't, and there is a good chance that he won't because the Sharks are pretty bad this year, and I'm not quite sure how many years Marleau has left in the NHL, but no matter what happens from now to the end of his career, he is going to get a ton of consideration for the Hockey Hall of Fame, and if you were to ask me, I definitely think he should get in there one day. And now to finish out the video, I want to talk about Phil Kessel of the Arizona Coyotes, who is another player that I think by the end of his career will be considered as a borderline Hall of Famer. Kessel was originally a 4th overall pick in the 2006 NHL draft by the Boston Bruins, and Kessel currently has 854 career points in 1,047 games played, and some of his accomplishments include winning the Stanley Cup on back-to-back occasions with the Pittsburgh Penguins. And in those playoff runs, Phil Kessel was very good, and he's always been a good playoff performer, as in 87 playoff games, he's got 77 total points. One thing about Kessel is I feel like he's kind of always a scapegoat. In Toronto, he took a lot of blame for kind of being a lazy player, but he didn't really have much help basically throughout his entire tenure with the Leafs, and same goes for Pittsburgh. He was kind of scapegoated there and eventually traded to the Arizona Coyotes. Now, Arizona is a very good team, and I think Kessel is going to be able to continue to add to his resume and hopefully have a really good playoff run for them this season. And Kessel is still only 32 years old, and by the end of his career is probably going to have over 1,000 career points, and who knows, he might have another Stanley Cup or two in his trophy case. And if I just had to throw out a guess right now, I think when it's all said and done, Phil Kessel will one day be inducted into the Hall of Fame. So that is going to wrap up today's video. I really hope you guys did enjoy. Make sure to let me know down in the comment section below your predictions for all of these players. Do you think they will be Hall of Famers one day, or do you think they will not be? And with all that being said, I hope you guys all enjoyed today's video. If you did, please make sure to go down there and smash the like button and subscribe to the channel for some more NHL content, and I will see you guys all in the next video.